We look very carefully at the mix of what we borrow. We've experienced, all of us, states and federal government, a drop in revenue. But I just went through tables. What we have done is to talk with the states. How do we collectively as a nation get through the difficult times? And what we told them is, of course, they are fiscally, federally independent, but we can share because we have one economy. We told them how we are doing our own things, that what we are doing is prioritizing payment of salaries to people because, you know, their families depend on it. So we have done that, prioritize that to make sure we pay salaries and pensions. And when you look at the payments that have been going to the states, and in fact I have some tables here and some numbers, you will see that even though revenue has dropped, in the case of, we asked several states, you know, to submit to us. They are not always so willing to do that, you know, how many months they owe, and you know, so we could try to help out, and what their profiles, you know, what they are struggling with. Some have done, some have not. But what I wanted to state is, when you look at some of these numbers, you find out that yes, revenue has dropped and is tough, but most states, what they receive from FAC is sufficient to cover their personnel costs. So what we would say is that they should prioritize that payment. In some cases, I'd say in most states, in some states that's not the case, I have to be clear. Some, what they receive is just, you know, a little bit short of their personnel costs. But many have looked through the list now at what their salary bill is and what they receive. And so they should be able to cover, but they will not be able to do much after that because of the cost drop in revenue. So we would advise them to first pay salaries and then find a way to manage the other issues. But there are few that what they receive falls slightly below their personnel costs. And in those cases, you know, we wanted a conversation with them. Some of them that I've seen have internally generated revenue, almost quite significant, and so they'll be able to make up for the gap from there. You know, and I'm looking at those whose IGR is low. I've not yet seen most of them that I have the numbers. Their personnel bill falls within what they get from FAC. So those ones should be able to cover. And some of them are managing very well. I want to say that some are not owing. They've been paying their salaries steadily. And so we have to commend them for that. But I've looked at it and seen that it's largely a question of what is your priority. So what we've advised is, with some contractors, if you have to make some payments, but you call them in, sit with them, explain the situation, try to schedule how you will pay. Once they know that you're going to pay, they are willing to be supportive because they are part of this economy. But we say pay your salaries first. And I think most states should be in a situation. We are not owing them. Actually, what we also did was that when we saw that there were some exchange rate differentials that were due them, we disbursed that to help them with this situation. You know, many of the MDAs, although some of them, as you know, don't like the idea of the e-collect, which we put in, and the Treasury single account, but we are getting them. It's a conversation that we'll be having on this issue, and we are getting them to see that they need to comply. What is it all about? During these times, our objective is to get as much internally generated revenue remitted. With an e-collect system that allows the money to come straight, to be collected electronically and remitted to the account in the central bank, that will help us avoid leakages, which is what all Nigerians want. With the Treasury single account, we have a tool that enables us to see where the balances, all the balances of government from all the various agencies at one time, because we are drawing resources into the central bank. So instead of having agencies with multiple accounts everywhere, and you have a situation whereby you have monies lying in several accounts not being used, and then on the other hand you're going to borrow, even from ways and means in the central bank, we will now have an overview. And already it's helped us to manage our balances much better. So there's not too much of a choice. Everybody has to comply. We are well within the financial laws in trying to introduce this new tool. But we don't want to look like we're overbearing to either the agencies or the banks. So we are discussing with them, and yes, we already got all the capital accounts in the central bank, and eventually we are getting the recurrent accounts. It also helps the central bank manage liquidity. First of all, I want to say that 2 other agencies, Fitch and Moody's, have maintained us at the same rate as at now. They have not tried to change it. Now, what S&P did is that they said they would do a special evaluation of oil-producing countries based on the fact that oil price had fallen. They decided to do it, and it's because of that, not because of anything else. So they looked at all the oil producers, and I can tell you that we were the last one to be downgraded. All the other oil-producing countries, from Russia to Kazakhstan to Venezuela to Angola, they reviewed them and downgraded. So it's a strong mark, and and credit. And if you read, please read what Standard & Poor's actually said. They commended the management of the economy. They said it was proactive and ambitious, that the policies, we responded in the right way to the drop in oil price. So people are saying drop in oil price, you can't, it's not your fault. But the issue is, how do you manage it? And they said we've managed it well. We've been proactive and ambitious. I'm quoting them directly. Now, what the issue is, why they downgraded, is not because of our management, which they have commended. It's because they believe oil prices will still be soft for a while, and because we are having elections.